Through the division of the Roman Empire between East and West, the full extent of Roman vulnerability has been made transparent. Within the Western Roman Empire, the Salian Franks cling to the southern shores of the Rhine River, serving as foederati or vassals to the government centered in Mediolanum. Led by King Faramund, his title was handed to him by his ailing father Marcomer, and as king of the Salian Franks, it is now up to his leadership to guide the Frankish tribes to unity, be it through diplomacy or force. Should Faramund accomplish his goal, what will he do? Rebel against Rome, or serve it with a more united force? So first, who am I? Well, I am King Faramund of the Salian Franks, with a lot of life, hopefully, right before me. My father is High Chieftain Marcomer of Westfalen, and of course, as my father, and as my player heir, and I the same to him, should one of us fall, the other will take his place. Hopefully, though, I will have a heir of my own, a son, by the time that were to come around. Regardless, should my father die before me, I will receive all of his lands, which will be very, very helpful, as we are about to see in the cultural section. The three traits that I possess are diligent, compassionate, and brave. Only one of those, brave, are virtuous to the Erminists of our religion. Makes a lot of sense. One thing that we don't want to get confused is compassion and forgiving, which is not a virtue of Erminists. Compassionate, we are merciful and sympathetic. Forgiving, though, we don't forget. It's important to keep in mind. And we are also insightful thinkers, which helps towards our learning experience, and is perhaps the path that we will go down ourselves. As for our characteristics, we are decent in diplomacy, hence the desire to handle things diplomatically instead of by force, especially with people of our own culture. My martial is not too shabby either. It increases my levy size, reinforcement rates, and gives me an advantage when commanding armies in combat. I'm certainly not the best, but neither am I the least. My highest is stewardship, which allows me a rather high domain limit and allows more taxes to be enacted to get things running along smoothly. But what I am not is a schemer. I have left that to my spy master. I prefer to face things just face to face, fight things head on and out in public. I'll have a lot to learn in that area. And of course, my learning is not too bad as well, giving me a rather high boost to my piety. Last but not least, a prowess. Between the cultural traits, between my actual traits personally, my culture, my everything, I have a decently good prowess, which should help us in battle and help me survive should battle come into being. Hordman's soul is our unreformed tuistic faith, and there are some very interesting pieces to this puzzle. Anakinism allows us to build our temples. Our temples are our sacred groves. They are outdoors. We have no covered buildings, or shouldn't anyways. Our faith is meant to be experienced outside. Our ancestor worship gives us prestige for newborns, prestige when getting married, both of those per level of splendor. I get a long range bonus should I live that long. And characters of the faith gain additional bonus on successful completion to a pilgrimage, something we will attempt to do at least once in our lifetime. We are also warmongers, which means we have an at-peace opinion instead of offensive war opinion. Rulers have a casus belli against our neighboring rulers. Prestigious rulers can use invasion, casus belli, once per lifetime. Our head of faith can declare great holy wars, and members of the clergy can serve as commanders or champions. We consider sinful traits of deceitful, craven, and forgiving, while we very much give virtue to wrathful, brave, vengeful, one-eyed, and even poetry. One of the more interesting aspects is that all of our holy sites are actually located fairly close to each other. And currently, under our specific family and under our culture, we have 2 holy sites under our possession. I would love to get all 5. That would be an amazing goal and a virtuous sign of quite the pious believer. Whether it will be possible or not, I simply don't know. But as we can see, there aren't that many obstacles in the way. A few people like the Saxon Confederacy, the Jarldom of Sleland, that's all that stands in our way. The Franks are an interesting culture to which I belong to. We are bellicose, which gives us boosts to our prowess and our men-at-arms, as well as our levy size. We are, of course, a central Germanic heritage, which also lends to our language, our warrior culture. Strong and hale are seen as prestigious. Weak and delicate are looked down upon. And gives me a fun time with future children, as they're more likely to get rowdy and pensive. Our hereditary hierarchy is interesting because rulers with poor traits are distrusted and a loyal trait is more valued. I'll have to keep this in mind as my children grow, giving them ways to become good rulers within our own culture. We have stand and fight, which gives defender advantage and toughness at the expense of an additional maintenance. And last but not least are migrators. We could migrate if we choose to do so. Given our current situation, I don't think it will be necessary. But should things become unfortunate, we do have the capabilities to relocate our entire culture. And then, along with that, strong and hale traits are seen. As prestigious, we have a very solid start. The Salian Franks, we only own a small handful. And my father over here at Westphalen. Between us two, we own a decent chunk of land, and unsurprisingly, we have a decent number of warriors at our side, including some war dogs and some siege towers. Should it come to war, settlements should fall rather easily. But I do believe we have some things in order. Our monthly balance is not too shabby at all. 4 a month isn't great, but it's not the worst. We do have a great deal of prestige. Now, being a tribal nation, prestige is more important than monthly income. We'll have to keep that in mind because as we go to war or as we do things that normally cost money, they cost prestige instead. We are quite pious, but unfortunately we are obscure. That is something we will hope to change. And as you can see, we are making a decent progress towards as well. There are some matters to take care of, including establishing our lifestyle. Learning is something that we have a natural inclination for, so I'm going to want to go down that. Whether it's medicine, scholarship, or theology, though, that's where the difference goes. Now, medicinal, a small health boost would certainly go a long ways. Learning, though, through scholarship is another very appropriate manner. Theology wouldn't be too bad either. And as you can see, most of our traits are centered around the scholars. We certainly have that inclination. But I'm also minded about my health. We will go down a medicine focus, which gives us quite a bit of learning experience as well. Not only that, though, we have to nominate a successor. Now, we are a foederati, we are a vassal kingdom. I am a king after all, but I serve the Western Roman Empire. And as such, I do have a say, just a little bit, in who gets to be voted on by who. But after looking at things, Emperor Honorius is already upvoting Galla Placidia Theodosian. And without enough voting power from the rest, including a man who's voting for himself, 2 of them who are voting for themselves, I'm simply going to vote for Galla Placida as well. Casting my vote of 50, it will be quite interesting. But I'm also not married, and that is equally as important. For the success of the realm, I need to find someone who is strong, someone who can create a great dynastic family. And I believe I have found my wife, Shukia. She is rather young, only 16 years old, but would make a great wife for a long period of time. She is intelligent, giving me a boost to all fields of, or my children rather, all fields, if they were to inherit it. This is worth the loss, I think. She would gain quite a bit, of course, because she is marrying high up. But I think with her skills and her capabilities, between her martial, her intrigue, and her learning, and being a cautious leader atop of it. Virtuous with our bravery and honest with the Heptinianites. I think she would make an amazing fit for me. Let's see if it happens. I can also take a concubine, so Clotilda, it's either you or Frotlina, and you seem to be a much suitable. We need a court physician as well. And with those invitations out, we can finally hold a little bit of court. Remember, we are a king. My vassal Nexus hurries to my side, his bloodshot eyes searching the assembled court. My lord, I'm sure someone in the kingdom's out to get me. I have no evidence, but I suspect Frotlina, the person I rejected. She resents my dislike of her and seeks revenge. I beg of you, imprison Frotlina and put a stop to this madness. By Ermin, she must be stopped, absolutely. O magnificent King Faramund, I am Mongfind, and I have traveled far to ask you for aid in righting a great injustice. The woman in front of me bows deeply before continuing with her well-rehearsed plea. My brother, Mormaer Finbar, currently sits on the throne of Tara, but I am the true and rightful ruler of those lands. If you aid me in pressing my claim, I shall swear fealty to you, serve you loyally until the end of my days. First, we need to see where that is. Tara is over in Ireland. It certainly wouldn't be a bad idea to try and push it. Maybe not immediately, but sometime down the road. Absolutely. We recruit her to our court. We would get a strong hook. It would start a war automatically. Oof. The cultural acceptance between the Gaels and the Franks would be not so great. Let's go ahead and do it. I think we could, yeah, we're gonna go to war. Absolutely. Brilliant. Now the next petitioner is evidently somewhat of a stranger in this court, as I don't recognize him, and the eyes of my Marshal Paul have been on them since they first entered. My lord, I've come to declare that the people of Gelders are refusing to pay the taxes you've levied upon us. In times past, our land and people were granted rights and privileges, which your recent exactions ignore. We request you address our concerns fairly, or else. It sounds to me like you may be misinterpreting some charters. Should I pass this test? The control will increase, I gain stewardship experience, and I gain some money, as well as tax assessors. Otherwise, the leaders of the tax revolts are not fooled. No. Very nice. The tax revolt ebbs away, and I gain tax assessor. Very good, as well as some extra funds. Ceremonial formality of the proceeding has dropped entirely, and my business here is done. With war now underway, it is time to raise my armies and see what everyone else at court does as the time goes on. Chukia, my wife, welcome. You're going to come join me in this war band that we are about to experience. Yes, we have secured an alliance with my father, High Chieftain Markomer. I could call upon him for 150 prestige. I don't know that I want to do that, though. I can't afford any mercenaries, which is a bit unfortunate, so I actually might come and draw him onto a war. Call to war. Of course I shall join you. Thank you, father. I appreciate it. And then we have a few things left. Nice. Take the hand of your courtier, Lambert, and holy matrimony. That should give me quite a good court physician. It says poor, but I think it'll be all right. We also haven't taken a look at our council. Let's do that very quickly. Rix Goldi is our Clothar, which is our warrior priest, essentially. Decent learning skill. Hopefully his prowess of 14 will help us in our future endeavors. Mayor Ingalbert Nexus of Brussels is quite the diplomatic chancellor. I have Radis as our steward, who has a decent amount of stewardship, and we are going to have him increase development in our mainland. Our marshal is not great. Paul is a good person, don't get me wrong. A good marshal, he does not maketh, but maybe he'll provide to be something more than what I could think of. And then last, Valab. is my spy master. He is the man who is going to help me ensure that I don't die. I face things right up front. He is the man behind the shadows, and I look forward to seeing how well he will indeed help me. Now, my liege, I am currently the steward here as well for the Western Roman Empire. Whether that remains so, I have no idea. But you can see amongst the council, Vicarius Flavius, Vicarius Gildo, and Vicarius Desiderius, as well as Aetius in the Roman Empire. We'll see what Mr. Honorius has in store, and with the Empire split, it should be quite interesting indeed, and I will only necessarily be called to war. So, hopefully he doesn't, so I can continue my own way. Our men have gathered, it's time to heave-ho. Now, as far as I know, he has no alliances. So the war should go rather quickly, especially if my father, who has already initiated his troops. It's a small little fee to embark. We shall land in the lands of Terra very soon. In the port outside of Britannia, where we stopped briefly, a notice was waiting for me, which is something I did not expect. Vicarius Victorinus of Britannia has sent a note to me directly and under the cover of a very stealthy agent. For too long I have suffered indignities at the hands of Imperator Honorius. I will not stand idly by while our liege abuses his loyal vassals. I urge you to join me in the fight to depose this tyrant. The man only has 1,000 people. However, we do have several allies. And it looks like it's the entire council. Vicarius Gildo of Africa, Proconsul Aristus of Raetia Secunda, Proconsul Magnus of Raetia Prima, as well as the war leader Vicarius Victorinus. We could win this. If I join him, we'll gain 25 opinion, which would be helpful should we gain independence. If I do the traitor, we'll side with the tyrant. No, this is our opportunity. We have served loyally, my father before him, but Honorius is a young man, and I feel like he's rather unfit. This is a chance for us to strike out, become our own people. We will join the War of Tyranny. We've landed in Terra, and the siege of Terra has begun. He has already run off, which is a good sign for us, as our allies will join us soon. In a few months, we should have Terra under our wing, where we could then push our men a little bit more and end the war quickly and turn right around and face the tyrant Honorius of the Western Roman Empire. My father is joined with his troops. As soon as we're able to, we are going to assault the fort, expedite this process, and still have enough men to go after the man himself. Brilliant. We've actually captured Mormir Fimbar hostage. Now, we could do a couple of things. I could simply execute him, although my compassion will not necessarily allow me to do so. I can ransom him, but he doesn't even have the 50 gold for it. Instead, we will enforce the demands. A rather quick war. We now have land in Terra, which is an interesting development already. And now we will come home, we will rest up and turn right around and go to our war against the Western Roman Empire. Deep in the heart of winter, Clocinda, my concubine, is with child. My wife still remains barren, unfortunately. And as spring arrives, our forces are increasing. They are doing as well as they can. Soon it will be time, once spring has happened, to where we will gather our forces. My daughter and heir, Praise Frua, Clocinda, has been given birth to a perfect little daughter. You will carry on my legacy. And a good Earlman's soul name, Auslag. I like that a lot. May you grow to be strong and wise, my daughter. The time has come. The most amount of troops that we can gather are with us. And the real important thing is to see how well this is progressing. We have 500 less troops than he does. However, I do feel like he is embroiled in more wars than one. He is being raided consistently, which is something that we can easily use to our advantage. And I do believe these troops are all going to help us, I guess you could say. I don't know, because it seems a little weird. I'm not recognizing the banners of any of these men. All I have to do is hope and pray. We'll try not to mingle with them. We will simply take the lands around us and go from there. The retinue of Hengist will join our ranks as a pair of mercenaries that could really help us. A bunch of war dogs, which is what we like. A couple of knights. A rather good marshal in Captain Rangenveld of retinue of Hengist, who is a winter soldier and a forter. 195 for a contract of 2 years. Don't mind if I do. You will help me. You'll go to victory up against the Romans. Our combined forces should be enough to even take on men of this particular. These comitatensis are rather intense, and they do have a decently good bonus as well. But I also think that my pikemen might actually stand a chance. Oof, never mind. Those comitatensis are intense. Our war dogs are good, our pikemen are good as well. The real question is, what could we use to fight against these? They counter spearmen, so these guys are simply heavy infantry. We need to find ways to counter that heavy infantry. I have not seen any allies. I am wondering, though, if these men are simply our allies, and I just have no way of really noticing. Never mind. I have found where they are. Looks like they're sieging the district of Como. It's just outside of the district of Mediolanum. What we will do is we will continue our sieging of the outskirts, keeping in mind the army of the Mediolanum. And should they come too near, we'll try and utilize that to our favor, although I do hope that once they siege down the siege of Como, they will go after Mediolanum and strike at the heart of Western Rome. News along the front, the siege of Como has ended victoriously for our allies. Looks like they are heading for the district of Novara. Why they don't go after Mediolanum itself, I don't understand. I'm simply too far away and incapable of helping them in that manner. If I were to go all the way down, I fear I'd be cut off by the Western Roman Empire and unable to do my duty as needed as possible. So I will continue to siege down the areas that I am a part of and hope that that is enough, and that they will get smart and go after Mediolanum here very soon. Good news, the region of Novara is now under our control, and my queen is pregnant while we are simply, we're not too far away from home. Not only that, I've gained some rather valuable people here. Some which may prove to be quite interesting. I've taken Baron Hilarion of Ecken and his son. I have taken Aurelia, who is, related to Vicarius Desiderius of Gallia. And I also have Leia Constantianit, member of Proconsul Numerus of Germania Secundus's. It's unfortunate for them. We will continue raiding along the lines. We are at 21%. I wonder if any of those from prisoners, they are not. So what we will do is we will fund and ransom all the people that we can, since that is not going to affect our war score and will allow me to fill up my coffers a little more than they would otherwise. And I'm waiting for them to decide on what they are going to do. Looks like they're going to go after Pavia. Just kidding. I don't know what my allies are thinking. I wish they would go after Mediolanum itself, although it appears Honorius's army, the first army of Mediolanum, who is led by Albinus Valentinian, wearing a toga. Don't quite understand that. I think he might be coming after me. However, he's starving, which is not good for him whatsoever. I think we could certainly get within our own area and be just fine. Let's head home to our level 2 in Leuven, where we will certainly get very well supplied up. And now Imperator Honorius is being attacked by leader Valerian in a peasant revolt. This just gets better and better, doesn't it? As I regain my troops and have my allies come to my side from the second army of Banzart. Could we face them? The owner is 1 year in debt. Their army supply is running low. And we have more commander traits. However, They have more soldiers, they have a higher quality, and more men-at-arms counters. These are simple peasants, but I'm wondering if we couldn't convince them to go. They are now undersupplied. No, we will simply hang out here in Maastricht. Now, one of the things we need to see here is the Comitatensis. Hills, drylands, and plains, they get damage buffs. What do we have here? We have plains. I don't believe that our boyos... No, they are toughness in the hills. They have no terrain effect whatsoever. So I need to find some hills, essentially. Plains is not going to be good for us. And there are no hills to be seen. You've got to be kidding me. This is not going to end well for us, I fear. And unfortunately, my allies are still very far down south. Now, they are sieging down the district of Pavia, so it's possible that I will have to take a little bit of a hit. If we could find a place, farmland is not the right place for this. We needed hills just to give ourselves a maximum. We are going to skirt around the Western Romans' armies, where we can at least, at a minimum, find some buffs to our own pikemen in the midst of the Comitatensis. Now, Frua, praise her. My wife has given birth to a perfect son. One day, child, you'll carry on my legacy. What name shall we have you? An ancestor. You know what? Marcomer, absolutely. May you grow to be strong and wise, my son. All I simply have to do is get to some hills. That's all I'm looking for. Something that will simply help me, against these guys. I don't think it's going to happen. We will find a way. I have no rivers either. There is no debuff that I get from this. We are going to play Skirtsies. And unfortunately, Marcomer is already cradled by sickness. Please survive, Marcomer. Well, we will fight here. And we will see what happens. As I expected, those Comitatensis are simply too much. It was a drastic and devastating rout. And Algari, our commoner, was slain in the Battle of Nuis. And unfortunately, my courtier, Lambert, and Captain Reginald of Retinue were taken prisoner after that battle was over with. That was a very quick and disastrous battle, I will say. I'm going to put my Reichsgodi once they return, and my only hope is that these guys are able to then move on to Mediolanum and cut out the heart, but I kind of feel like they are not going to. That defeat did sting, I'm not going to lie. And he will start taking things back quickly, but we have the capability of definitely coming back and recovering rather quickly. I just don't know what my allies are thinking, and we're kind of going to start losing the war if they don't choose to do something fast. Blood on the snow. It comes from nowhere, hitting me clean in the temple. I didn't even see the projectile coming, much less try to dodge, and for a moment I stagger blinded. A sharp peal of giggles rings out behind me and I whirl. Auslag rises from her hiding spot. Another snowball, already clutched in her vicious little hand. Good shot, Auslag. Come here, you little rascal. At least we can enjoy the last little remnants of snow, or the beginnings of snow rather, as a disappointment stretches across my face. My allies are not going for Mediolanum, the heart to where we could win this war. They are simply hanging around and doing as they feel fit. This benefits me not at all. And I do wish they would do something a little more concrete. Although I do have a feeling that I could go after... Where is the capital of Gallia? If I were to take that capital, I feel like that would have a lot bigger impact. And so perhaps I can certainly go over here and start looking There it is. Lyon, perhaps that would be a good place. I don't think I could travel there, especially not during the winter. We can certainly just winter and take some areas around us. That's not too bad of a deal. But I do need to get my allies to do more than what they're doing, because nothing is working at the moment. And it is rather frustrating that they aren't taking what's right in front of them, instead of just taking all the areas around it. Now Emperor Honorius is being attacked by Toswag Sintigorex, Byrothenix. Perfect. The more wars, the better. Our contract is ending with the war dogs. We will have to forsake that contract renewal. And just like that, a white peace is settled. My frustrations have certainly ended okay, I suppose. Now, unfortunately, our war in the white peace means that it allows us to rightly be imprisoned by him. Whether it will happen or not, we'll have to see. Now, we can't join another faction for a while, which is okay. What it does mean is that our liege is still in 3 wars, none of which I will help. It ended less pleasantly than I had hoped, but still, it was very, very clear that they were not capable of taking Mediolanum, and I was not able to push my lands as far as I wanted to myself. Now, we do have a couple of court issues to take care of. A healthy rivalry between meddlesome fighters is to be expected, but growing discord between Paul and Valub is souring mood accord. Paul is regarded to be more skilled, but Valub clearly takes issues with the assertion. In the middle of an audience, the latter bursts into my throne room and, clutching the sword hilt, cries, "Paul! Only one of us can claim to be the king's most skilled champion. Meet me outside and I'll settle the question." Paul replies suspiciously, "I would cut you to pieces where you stand. Fear not for the presence of my lord. Apologize, and I may spare your life." Take their swords, give them training blades. There we go. Paul wins the duel. Valub, you're going to have to sit down, good sir. Gotta love a little bit of fighting as I arrive back court from war. As I pace towards my throne, overhear my champion Goldabear proclaiming something to my wife. I wonder what secrets her mask protects, what hidden wonders, what cloaked subjects. Although perhaps she'll break my heart yet, but fail to try would be a bigger regret. Is he reciting romantic poetry to my wife? Oof. I would certainly not call my wife that. No, no, no. Even amidst my compassion, there are limits. I'm going to have to imprison him. Now, unfortunately, due to our tribal type, we can't modify our court, but we do have a court artifact, the Rapurin House Banner, which will give us a small boost. Now that things have settled down a little bit and I am allowed to do certain things, we will see what messages at court are needed. We will certainly go ahead and return that. We do have a few champions, or we do have few champions. I will recruit him, absolutely. Rendarius is going to be certainly quite useful. And I think we're going to have to sit and recover just for a little bit. See if the Emperor will push the imprisonment upon me, or if we can start raiding and pillaging. I think I wouldn't mind doing some raiding and pillaging. In fact, let's go ahead and raise all as raiders. Well, Emperor Honorius, he was murdered by Vicarious Gildo. Man alive. Oof. A big ol' oof. It seems that the white peace was not quite so white as we thought. Now I only have a voting strength of 15, and unfortunately, Imperatrix Galla Placidia, the Western Roman Empire, has voted for Vicarious Flavius Vitalia Subcurcaria. Now, I don't think I can vote for myself, unfortunately. And honestly, I have a pretty good relationship with Flavius so far. It is certainly the best out of my options, so sure, I will lend my vote his way. Perhaps we can forgo certain things that may have transpired during the last war. However, we have a lot of things to do. We're going to go raiding. as I love and have want to do. Wife, I will be home soon. But before I do leave, I do need to see about my family. I don't want to leave them or do anything crazy. I do want to sway my wife. Oh no, I would rather seduce her. There's a decent chance of that happening. My children, Auslag, who is 4, Marcomer, who is 2. She appears to have a knack of stewardship about her, but I'm also going to bring her on the road with me. And my son, Marcomer, will educate him as well. He's still sickly, so hopefully he'll be able to recover. But you know what? Let's teach him the ways of espionage and intrigue. If he makes it, he'll make a good spy master one day. If he doesn't, then the gods will take care of him without a doubt. It's time to go on the warpath. An interesting development. Imperatrix Galla Placidia of the Western Roman Empire has offered me the position of spy master. I don't know why. Apparently her counsel must be pretty darn bad. If a spy master, my intrigue of level 7 will certainly have any sort of experience. Now I do gain a natural dread. My scheme chances of hostile intent will increase, and my intrigue lifestyle will certainly increase as well. Not what I was expecting, but since I can't raid down here, the news is nice as we cross the river Rhine or the Danube rather. The Rhine, excuse me. Wish I knew my topography. As we try and gain as much loot as stinkin' possible. And it seems that the High Chieftain Gosbold did not enjoy that very well. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how this battle will end out. Our war dogs may have taken a bit of a lead, and I'm wounded, unfortunately. I think I will survive. Yes, the wound treatment has been successful. It will come down to the wire. Apologies, High Chieftain, but it seems that I was determined to win this from the start. And when did I have? He's come back for round 2. Bring it on, good sir. Now, unfortunately, our champion, Radus, got his head ripped off by the Berserker. Oof. But he has also died as well. I assume he took him out in the aftermath. Back, ye fiend. And now we have an empty... Oh no, my steward. Oh, Radus, you poor, poor soul. But, Rendarius, I'm going to go ahead and continue. Oh, goodness gracious. Radus, you lived such a young, prosperous life. We are going to allow ourselves to be replenished a little bit. Hopefully that will happen quickly. The raiding wasn't entirely successful. Everything's already been picked over, so it's not surprising to see that nothing has worked out. Now, anyone can buy a token of affection, big or small, but if I want to impress my queen, I should send her something truly special. Now, she is a woman of great education. She's also a woman of great martial. But you know what? I think an especially rare book for her would be good. Scarce remember the last time I received such a wonderful gift. Yes, a budding interest. Absolutely, my wife. But court calls once again. My modest champion, Magnacar, bows before me. Served you faithfully. You know my charge against Imperator Honorius amidst the farmlands of Nuis, but I am no longer young. Bid you invest me with my own lands in your kingdom. Other lords have been given more for far less. I wish I could. Chiefdom of Antwerpen. You know what? You know what? Magnacar. Absolutely. Absolutely, that's a piece of cake. A provincial merchant steps forward, clearly out of her element in my rich halls. I beckon, come woman, we don't have all day. I am Astrude, representing the disgruntled traders and freemen of Brussels, Brabant's greatest city. Ignalbert Nexus, our mayor, is a barrier to commerce in the town's interests. We humbly ask he be replaced by someone else. Huh, and what does Nexus have to say? If his incompetence has been proven, he'll pay me 50 buckaroonies. If not, then development progress is stifled. What does he have to say for himself? Oh, he has been found incompetent. Apologies, Nexus. My lord, the steward Randarius takes the floor. I have an idea to improve taxation. You can send surveyors to question your subjects about every property, its name, owner, extension, and value. Sure, I'm all right with that. My business here is done. I have lost Brabant, but I think it'd be worth it in the end. I still have too few champions. But Markomer has, of course, become a brewing troublemaker. We knew this would happen. We knew it would. And no sooner has my troublemaker of a son run off than celebrations had come to an end at a party when Queen Shakia suggests a reading. The clerk soon arrives, wondering what the guests would like to hear, my chance to impress her. Now, she's a decently pious woman, I will admit. But I think the travels to Jerusalem. She later approaches me. Good choice, Faramund, she says, and puffs her chest. It was great, wasn't it? Yes. Success chance has even increased even more. I have a new learning perk as well. We've gone down whole of body. We are going to do Iron Constitution, which gives me an increased fertility and a massive boost to health. I'm hoping to live a long and prosperous life as much as I can. And Vicarius Flavius of Italia Subgurcaria. We have a lot in common. He's proven himself to be quite dependable. Yes, let's spend some more time together. Absolutely. A close friend, regardless of distance, is always going to be a good thing. Vicarius Desirius, by the way, does not enjoy me. Oof. Can't attack him. Can't do anything. That's okay. Oh. And then news on the front. Well, a blessing. And an unfortunate sadness. Markomer of Westphalen, my father, has finally died at the ripe age of 74. And with his death, I inherit all of his lands. So the Salian Franks have over doubled our size, which isn't too bad. And I have become the cultural head, which isn't surprising whatsoever. My father was working on naval carpentry. I don't know what that would do, not necessarily something that I want. However, we could look at some ancient options to see if anything would be of interest to us. And I think we'll go after client states. Unlocks the tributary mechanic and its casus belli and interactions. Tributaries will give a portion of their gold and men each month. I think that's crucial. Whether we can research it in 36 years, I don't know. But regardless, I have new lands. And with those new lands, I have also taken over a holy site directly, I do believe. We have level of devotion, an increase in prowess, maximum battle roll, and stewardship per level of devotion, as well as fertility. We are still under the vassalageship of the Western Roman Empire under a much better ruler, I would say. So I am content for now. Whether it will remain so, I have no clue, and I still have quite a few tribes to start uniting under the Franks if we can somehow unite. Scambria. He does not appear to be, he doesn't appear to be very well, and neither does his wife. Maybe King Gosbald of Sicambria can be our next target. We outrank him, we outmatch him. Perhaps we can go to war, unite the tribes, and push onward. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this. I am a little bit rusty with the roleplay side of things, so I hope you will excuse that and just enjoy the content regardless. A couple of things before we leave. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give the video a thumbs up. You can subscribe to the channel and turn on bell notifications, but I do enjoy comments as well. I love seeing your stories. I love seeing your suggestions and paths to go. Anything and everything is appreciated. And last but not least, if you want to be in the game, in terms of a character being labeled for you, then you can become a YouTube member at any level. And it would be greatly appreciated, but of course, never, ever expected. Thank you guys so much once again for hanging out with me. This is Havoc, and I'll see you back in Crusader Kings 3.